Okay, today I'm going to do a small intro to fingerstyle playing. So there's a couple of different approaches. Obviously, if you're a classical player, you would start from scratch, build a technique up, using the correct fingering, etc. Some folk players have a pretty good technique that they've developed, sort of copying some of the great players. I don't come from a classical background or a folk background, so my style is pretty much just made up, really. But there's a few things that I think would be quite useful if you want to get into it. There's a couple of obvious things, really. If you're strumming a chord, I'm just going to stick to the chords that we've done previously, just pretty simple chords. If you strum that chord with either a pick or your thumb or whatever, you're hitting all the strings pretty much at the same time, creating a really nice sound. And one of the main differences I find with fingerstyle is you've got a little bit more control over what strings you actually play all the time. So instead of just strumming it, if we pick out certain notes of the chord, we can play them all together, which would sound like that. Now, this is something, again, I just sort of learnt on my own. I didn't really go to lessons for this type of thing, but it seemed to me sort of fairly common sense just to use my thumb and my first three fingers. So what I'm doing here is, this is just a simple G chord. I'm resting my thumb on the lower E string, and then you could pick any selection of a group of three strings to go with that, but I'm going to go with the middle three, so that's the D string, the G and the B. So fourth string, third string, second string. So if I just played them all together, if you try to pluck that, it's quite difficult to sort of go in, pick the strings and pull them out. So I have them rest on the strings or just inside the strings. I don't know if you can see that there. So literally I could pull back on the strings like that. So if I then have them all together like that, so I'm grabbing these three, fourth, third and second string, and I've got my thumb on the bottom string, or the top string, wherever you look at it, and then do all three together. So these three, the first, second, third, I'm going to pull them out like that, and this thumb I'm just going to go down. So at the same time you do this. Now that seems fairly easy, I think. Probably one of the problems with a lot of things on the guitar is that a lot of things look quite simple, but in reality maybe a little bit trickier to actually execute well. This is one of them. I think it seems quite simple, but what we're trying to do here is we're trying to get an even sound between all four notes. So I know when I've tried to teach this to people before, and some people have struggled a little bit, it's because that they maybe aren't so comfortable with putting their sort of fingers through the strings almost. I mean, some people might have their fingers a bit more flattened out, but for me, I like the idea that there's a bit of security, you feel you've got the strings there, so you pretty much know when you play it's going to work. Now obviously, every time you take your hand off the guitar and you put it back on, you're doing the same thing, but you've got to sort of feel your way around a little bit. So you're basically trying to get to the point where if you put a G chord on and you're playing sort of fingerstyle thing and you just want to play the chord, your fingers just automatically would go to that position and play like that. So this is just a G chord, very simple. We could alternatively play the higher three strings, which would sound like that, but for the moment stick to that. And with this, you really want to make sure you've got a good sound out of each string that you're playing. You don't want something to be much louder than the other parts, because then when you actually do play this, it will sound a little bit strange. So you're basically trying to get everything to sound as neat as possible. Okay? So what I'm going to do now is just look at the next chord up, which would be C. And this time, I'm not going to play the bottom E string, I'm going to start with the bass note of the C chord, C. And this time, I think I'm just going to go with the third, second and first strings, so G, B, E. And exactly the same technique again, just grab these, push down your thumb. So you can hear from G, and then C, we just move your thumb down and move these 3 fingers down as well. Okay, and then if we go to D now, you move your thumb down again, so your thumb is always playing the bass note. And same 3 strings as you just played a minute ago there with the C. So that's your G chord, C chord,